Hi everybody and welcome to the Ken Bone Show. Thank you so much for joining us once again for milestone episode number 28. Milestone because it is the fourth multiple of 7. Happy to have you here. I am Ken Bone and alongside me is my good friend Josh Burkett. Behind me is my wife Heather. How are you doing this week, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing really well. It is still incredibly hot in my office, but we did have somebody come in and put in a bid to get that fixed for us so that I don't die this summer. That'll be great. And I put up some signs on the refrigerators at work today saying that I was going to clean them out next Thursday and throw away everything, even if it's labeled, because they're getting too full of rotten old junk. And I fully expect to get more hate mail about throwing people's old nasty lunch away than I did about like my Second Amendment talk on Twitter. People get pretty salty when you throw their gross stuff away.
Making enemies everywhere. And
yeah,
why did that job get sent to you? Did you draw the short straw in like a meeting or something?
Well, I'm the only person that permanently occupies the building that I'm in at work. Everybody else rotates through once every 5 weeks when it's their training period, but I'm the guy that does the training. So I'm in that building all the time. So people will rotate through and do their training, and they'll forget like a sandwich or something, and it'll stay until they come back 5 weeks from now, and then they'll look for their sandwich and be like, well, this isn't my sandwich. My sandwich was good, and this one is like yellow and hairy. This can't possibly be mine, so I will just leave it here. And they get pretty gross. When I moved into my office, I found a bag that used to be a bag of apples that was now a bag of what looked like smelly raisins, just like little tiny slimy proto-apples. In a file cabinet, like in one of the drawers of my file cabinet, where I was like, I'll move all of my files in here. Ooh, not until I get some bleach. So yeah, it's nothing against
that's
my
gross, man.
Workplace in particular. Apparently, everywhere you go to work, people are disgusting animals because they are not at home. Yeah.
Your mom does not live at your job, people.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad my mom doesn't live at my job, because I don't think my mom would be that great of an operator. I think she's really good at working at the hospital. Let's go ahead and get into the news, because we love the news so much. It's so exciting, and it's never depressing. So we'll start off with a definitely not depressing story about a toddler in the United Kingdom who was murdered by the government.
Oh, I hate this story.
We're getting it out of the way first off, just so it can be gone. So Alfie Evans was a 2-year-old over in the UK. All right, and the government of the United Kingdom murdered him. That is you can talk about it all you want, but that is my bottom line. That's what we're going to come to every time. So Alfie was born with a degenerative brain disease, and his prognosis for living much longer was very bad. He was on life support, and they had run out of treatment options for him in the UK. So the doctors at the hospital got together and said, okay, we're going to take him off life support. And his mom and dad are like, well, go to hell. No, you're not. Yeah, I'm not going to take my kid off life support. I want him left on life support. And we're going to do everything we can and hope for a miracle. And the hospital's like, no, we're not doing that. And the court ruled in the hospital's favor and said it is in the child's best interest to be taken off of life support. So the government in the United Kingdom looked at all their options which included sending him to Italy. Italy had given Alfie citizenship and offered to fly him to Italy on a plane for reevaluation and possible treatment, at least for a little while, to try something else. And the UK said, nope, it is in our citizens' best interest to die. We would rather he die than you take him and try to help him for another couple weeks. And if it was the parents saying, take him off life support, we don't want to see him suffer, then that would make me sad. But it would be a livable thing, because that's who should be making decisions for little children, is the parents.
Right.
But since it's the government saying in a very literal sense, Alfie, you are better off dead. It would be better for you to be dead than it would be for you to be alive. We don't care what you think because you're a tiny child, and we don't care what your mother and father think. At several points during this ordeal, Alfie's father had to be physically restrained from trying to give Alfie food and water or give him CPR when he was starting to die. Guards at the hospital were physically restraining a father from trying to save the life of his child. There is zero chance that if this happened in the United States, armed people would not have gone in and taken this child. I'll say that right now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
We've talked about responsibility with guns a lot on this show and how you should always be responsible with guns. Well, I'll tell you what. If that's my son, if that's my Logan on the table, and he's dying, and the hospital tells me, you know what, we think it would be better for Logan if he was dead. Well, you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to kill me first. I will die before he does, or I will get him out of here. That's it. No two ways about it. This was a disgusting overreach of government power, and it just goes to show you why, even though things in the United States are very difficult at some points, like they are right now, our system of government is infinitely superior to most European systems of government. Okay, here in the U.S., your rights, you have all of your rights, you're born with them. And included among these rights is the right to be alive. As your most fundamental right is you have the right to be alive. And we lend some of our rights to the government so that they can oversee the business of the country. But we are the ultimate arbiters of our own fate. The government does not take care of us from the time we were born until the time we die, and they do not get to decide when we die. Over in the UK, the government has just set the precedent that they get to decide when you die.
Okay, words. I used to argue online a lot. I don't really much anymore. But this week, with your story and with the Alfie story, I just unleashed the Kraken, because this made me so mad. And even me, in my most neutral, try to understand people's points, I was like, okay, even if you give that their national health care system, they didn't want to, after a year of keeping them on life support, they didn't want to keep them on life support because the NHS was paying. Fine, I'll if you want to make that argument, fine. If if they're in the right to do that, fine. If you could argue that various things, but you cannot argue at all, not 1%, that they were in the right to deny transportation to Italy. Like, they had to have armed guards. I think they were armed, but they had to have guards to prevent a father from taking his child to put him on a plane to another country. How is that not? How can you argue in favor of that? You can't. There is no precedent that you can argue. And so, yeah, I spent the whole week just battling morons online, and I just let out my inner rage. I guess I've been holding it back for a while, but it makes me so mad.
And we want to be totally fair on this issue. Like, going to Italy by no means was a guarantee of Alfie's survival. The chances of him surviving were still, like, so small that they're difficult to calculate. But just taking him off life support and watching him until he died is a 0% chance of survival. Flying to Italy and getting some experimental treatment, or at least getting reevaluated by different doctors, if that's a 0.1% chance, that's 0.1% higher than just letting this kid starve to death or suffocate because his lungs don't work properly. Okay? Yeah. And for everybody saying that this was some kind of mercy, like, oh yeah, the kid really is better off dead, I wouldn't let my dog suffer like that. Well, I probably wouldn't let my dog suffer like that either, but that's because I don't have the infinite love for my dog that I have for my child.
Exactly.
There is a dollar value where a dog tops out to me, or a cat, or a lizard, or anything else. There at some point it says, you know what? Sorry, Rover, you gotta die. For my son, it is infinite. I will use up every cent that I have. I will live under a bridge forever if there is a 0.1% chance that you get to stay alive. And that wasn't even the judge's position. The judge just said, no, we think this kid is better off dead. This kid is better off being dead than he is being alive, so we're not going to allow any chance of saving his life, even if it's in another country on another country's dime. That's just disgusting. And if this kid had been a dog, and like if you had a dog that needed to be put down because it had dog cancer or what the hell ever kills dogs, and you said, okay, I'm going to do a mercy for this dog, I'm going to let it starve to death, they'd put you in jail and rightly so, because you're a monster. This was the same thing way back with Terry Schindler-Shivo. She was here in the United States, and she had verbally told her husband, I don't want to be kept alive on life support. At least that's what he said. He had no documentation to back it up. She did not have a living will. The judge went back and forth on it and said, no, I'm going to believe you that she said that to you, and so we're going to take her off life support until she dies. Well, she didn't die for like 9 days. You wouldn't let your dog starve to death for 9 days.
Right.
So the whole argument about whether we were going to let her die or not, I mean, it's a very deeply spiritual and philosophical issue, whether you want to be kept alive on life support. But I tell you what I don't want is to starve to death in a hospital bed. Shoot me in the damn head if you're going to do that to me. I mean, it's not humane to just let a child lay there and not be able to breathe until he dies. I mean, here in America, we won't even, we're shying away from giving criminals, multiple murderers and rapists, we're shying away from giving them the lethal injection because we think it's uncomfortable. It hurts them. Well, we just let a damn child in the UK die a horrible death because we decided, or that judge decided, it was better than the kid being alive.
Yeah. And I read every article I could find to try to at least understand why they even wouldn't let him go to Italy. And there was absolutely no reason. It was like, why? It was like a power play, like a stubborn judge that wanted to just dig his foot down. And I'm like, if that person's emotion and stubbornness is over the value of life, and that's the way the government can be run in a nation, fuck that nation.
Yeah, and we saw on Twitter, I think you even commented on it, the local law enforcement over in the UK threatened action against people who posted inappropriate things on social media about how the hospital staff were perpetrating this crime. So if you're in the UK and you post nasty stuff on social media about these doctors and this judge who murdered a little child, you can be prosecuted for that. Just like Count Dankula got prosecuted for teaching his dog to do a Nazi salute, you could be prosecuted for saying bad things about this doctor. Well, here's the beauty of international law. I do not live in the United Kingdom. That local law enforcement has no jurisdiction over me. So every single one of you, if you listen to this, fuck yourselves with something really thick. Okay? Go jump up your own ass and die. Go outside and practice falling down for a while, you piece of human filth, you child-murdering psychopath. And I can't
Eat a Tide Pod and die.
Eat a Tide Pod and die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was one thing that did my heart well in this whole thing, because when that the police department posted that on Facebook, everyone from that their blood runs the old red, white, and blue was like, USA, USA,
America, fuck yeah. Boy. Anyway, rest in peace, Alfie Evans. I am so sorry that we did you wrong. You deserve better in my eyes.
Yep, absolutely.
Every child deserves a chance at life. All right. On to better news. Kanye West is insane. And I love him. I love him because he is insane. Not a big fan of Kanye's music, but then again, I'm not the target demo. I'm a 35-year-old fat, bald white man who lives in the Midwest. I am not the target demographic for Kanye or basically any other hip-hop artist. For the music that he makes, and for what I understand, he's spectacular. So, good for you, Kanye. But yeah, that's not why we're talking about him, of course. We're talking about him because he went nuts on Twitter. And when I say nuts on Twitter, he said he doesn't hate Donald Trump. Oh my God. The world has screeched to a halt. A famous person, a famous black person, doesn't hate Donald Trump. Not only does he not hate him, he likes him. Holy shit. What? That's possible? I thought there was like some kind of club where if you had over a certain amount of money and public visibility, or if your skin was darker than mauve, you were not allowed to like Donald Trump. I mean, that's what they tell me on television, is that you're not allowed to like Donald Trump if you're any kind of ethnicity at all other than the pasty whiteness of myself and my co-host. And if you have a bunch of money and people pay attention to you, you're definitely not allowed to like Donald Trump. I'll be clear right now. Kanye West likes Donald Trump a whole shitload more than I like Donald Trump. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Like a whole bunch of people don't like him.
I respect his right to like him.
Yeah, I am thrilled that Kanye not only does like him and is forming his own ideas, but that he also came out and said, you know what? I bet I'll get a whole bunch of hate about this, but yeah, I think I kind of like Donald Trump. And then, of course, people come out of the woodwork. Well, you're not black enough. You're not a real black person. Shut the hell up. Okay? Kanye West has been called the N-word so many times it would make your hair just fall out in shock. If you got to hear the hatred that was hurled at him coming up through his career, I guarantee it. I promise you. He's been the subject of just vast, horrific hatred. And if that doesn't qualify you to be part of the black or the minority experience, then I'm sorry. Okay? If part of the experience is that you have to agree with the majority of people that are the same color as you, then we're living in some kind of weird, gross tyranny. Okay? It's the majority of people that look like me really, really like NASCAR. And I don't, because I think it's boring. And I'm allowed to think that. He's turning left again. I'm allowed to think that, despite the fact that most gross-looking bald white men do love NASCAR, especially if they live in southern Illinois. I'm also allowed to think whatever else I want to think, because Merca. And that's it. Merca. And that's what Kanye's doing. Now, before you start thinking that Kanye is some amazing critical thinker, or inviting him to CPAC next year to be the keynote speaker, Kanye also loves Emma Gonzalez, the Parkland survivor, the young lady with the buzz cut. Now, I don't hate Emma Gonzalez. I don't agree with her. I actually kind of like her. She seems like a cool kid. I certainly don't agree with her. Kanye likes her a lot and definitely agrees with her. Like, what? Now you're really blowing my mind. You like Donald Trump, but you're in favor of more gun control? You can't believe both things. You can't believe a conservative thing and a liberal thing. What the hell's the matter with you, Kanye? Are you crazy? Oh, wait, I forgot. Still America. Still America. You get to think whatever you want to think. You can think that abortion is okay right up until 9 months minus 5 minutes, and think that everybody should be allowed to own a bazooka. You can think both of those things. Probably not a ton of people do, but you can. Nothing's stopping you. And it sickens me. It's gross how many people you see saying that, like, you shouldn't be allowed to believe that, and if you do believe that, then you're desecrating the memory of your black ancestors. No, he's not. Shut up.
No.
Shut the F up. Even if Donald Trump was as racist as all these people want to believe he is, and I don't think he is. I think I guarantee he's a little racist because he's an old man. Old people are freaking racist because they come from racist time. Like, I promise you he's a little bit racist, but he is not like a goose-stepping Nazi like so many people seem to think that he is. You can't hide that kind of hatred. It comes out. But even if he was that, you can still be friends with a nasty, virulent, racist, horrible person and not be one yourself. You can. It's not easy, but you can.
Sure.
You can work with somebody, or you can agree with something. I could be like, you know what? I think that this person has a really great opinion on how to fix the economy. It's too bad they also hate Jews. But that doesn't change their brilliance on economic issues. In fact, it's a good thing that is possible. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done things like gone to the moon. In Operation Paperclip, we patriated a whole bunch of like German Nazi scientists. Nasty, bad people who had done really nasty, bad experiments, and we used their knowledge and we used them for the greater good, and we made some good come of their horrible lives.
Good point.
I'm not comparing Trump to a Nazi that would have gotten patriated during Operation Paperclip, but I am saying that even if you are an awful piece of inhuman garbage like the people that murdered Alfie Evans, someday you can do something good. Or I might even agree with you on something. The piece of human filth that ruled that Alfie Evans should be dead might also really like the same baseball team as me. I don't know. He probably doesn't like baseball at all. He's just a stupid foreigner. Daggone
Stupid.
This episode's about America.
Those ickly tooth redcoats.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, out of all the things Kanye has, out of all the oddball and just plain dumb things that Kanye has said and all the controversy he's generated over the years, this one just, this is what people are freaking out about. I mean, granted, I mean, other people have freaked out about different things. He's granted, but this is a big one, and it's okay. So what? He likes the current president. Move along.
It really goes hand in hand with what we're always talking about on the show. It's just don't listen to celebrities and their political opinions. Anyway, what do they know?
Right.
Dick. That's what they know. Getting on television does not qualify you to be intelligent. As you can tell from listening to this show, I have been on television a bunch of times on like all of the channels, and it didn't make me any smarter. In fact, I think it might have made me stupider.
Wait, so you're saying some like magical political fairy doesn't come down and like gently brush your forehead after you like on TV and was like, the gift of politics. Bing.
I will thank you not to refer to Anderson Cooper in that manner. That's a joke, folks.
Well played.
That's a hateful term that he did not intend in that way. I've turned it into a joke. Okay?
Can't find a homophobic racist.
We do not use that word in that context. I just saw a softball.
Oh, man.
Let's see. And more Kanye stuff. Maxine Waters tells Kanye he needs to shut up. You know what? If I was offered a deal where they would both shut up, I would take that deal. I like hearing Kanye talk. I even liked I'ma Let You Finish just because of the craziness of it. I even liked George Bush Does Not Care About Black People, not because of Kanye, but because of Mike Myers.
The face.
Mike Myers, the co-presenter, looked like all the blood just drained out of his Canadian visage all in one instant because they're both on script. And you can dial into this text number and help relieve victims of Hurricane Katrina. George Bush does not care about black people. And then Mike's like, he's already running his next line in his head, and he's ready to say it, and he's just like, and then he just runs his next line because he doesn't know what else to do. It's ridiculous. And then Kanye goes on like the huge rant about how evil George Bush is. That was television gold. It really was. It harkened back to the days of all live television back in the 50s and 60s. It made me miss that kind of insanity.
The only thing that would have made it better is if Mike Myers just absolutely panicked in his mind and then just broke into Austin Powers personification right there. Just behave, baby, yeah. But then it got even more awkward and.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. Thank the good Lord, I was watching it live. Because that was in the days when YouTube was still like a fledgling thing, and it would have been hard to look it up and watch it over and over again. I got to watch it live. I'm like, what?
That just happened.
But then, of course, Kanye, after saying that you should be a free thinker and believe what you want to believe, and then he comes out like 2 days later and says slavery went on for 400 years. It's basically saying like it's kind of our fault too for being slaves for that long. I'm like, whoa, now you've jumped back off of the board here, buddy. Slavery was not the fault of people who were picking cotton with guns at their heads and whips at their backs. This isn't the movies where you can all just rush at the master at the same time and all get away. You would have gotten exterminated. It happened a lot of times. So yeah, it was not the slaves' fault. It was the country's fault for allowing that. So that was weird.
Hey, here's one thing I wonder: which is more powerful, dragon energy or tiger blood?
Oh man!
I mean, if you had to pit Kanye West and what's his face?
Charlie Sheen.
Thank you, Charlie Sheen. Just like celebrity deathmatch, one having dragon energy and one having tiger blood. Who would win? Oh man, that'd be good TV right there.
Well, I'm gonna give it to Charlie Sheen because he's done every drug known to man, and he probably can't feel pain like a normal human.
Yeah, that's true.
He would be like, oh man, there's a villain who can't feel pain in one of the James Bond movies. The guy had like diamonds in his face or something weird, but it made him really hard to beat. Yeah, when you don't nail your references, it really takes away from the gag. Whatever. The Anderson Cooper one was a home run. They can't all be gold, folks. Uh, on to some other news. Some Trumpian news. We're going to do all the Trump stuff at once so that we can stop talking about Donald Trump, for God's sake. One of these weeks, we'll get to do a Trump-free show. Like, he'll just go on vacation and turn off his phone or something. But let's see. Rudy Giuliani went on TV and said not only did Trump know about Michael Cohen's payoff to Stormy Daniels, which he had said he didn't know about it, but he actually paid him back. He gave Michael Cohen the money back. Well, dummy, it probably would have been pretty tough to prove before that it was an in-kind contribution and a disallowed campaign donation before. But now that you've said it was a loan that got paid back by Donald Trump, that makes it a lot easier to prove in court that it was campaign finance violation. Now, it was only for like $150,000, and I hate using the term only $150,000.
Only. Right.
But when you're talking these multi-million or multi-hundreds of millions of dollar campaigns, $150,000 violation is actually, you can almost chalk up as a bookkeeping error. I think in the Obama campaign there was like $2 million or something like that ended up being improper, but it's such a small percentage that the election commission was like, it's going to happen. You can't monitor every single one, and if there's any egregious ones, we'll go after it. Well, now you've just called all this attention to this one, that even though it's pretty small, the chances are good that somebody's going to get in trouble over it, because you just keep shining a flashlight on it. And this move doesn't make that much sense to me. But then again, Trump and his team are incredible at deflecting blame away from themselves about stuff. And maybe this is another move in deflecting that away. I'm sure Rudy Giuliani knows the law better than I do. He is a lawyer, after all. Maybe. But on the surface, this seems stupid. It seems like a really bad move.
Good point.
If nothing else, like even if it ends up making a good legal defense, you've just come out and said, oh yeah, by the way, Trump's been lying to you for like 2 months. Like, okay, well, we all kind of knew that, but you just copped to it. Like, if you were going to admit that he was lying, he could have at least done it himself. That might have been a little better, but geez, I don't know.
Right.
Other Trump news, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which I was invited to last year, and I got,
cool.
Yeah, and I got disinvited because Trump decided he wasn't going to show up, and so all the news organizations and stuff that were going to have celebrities and pseudo-celebrities like me come to the thing, they're like, oh, well, since Trump's not coming, it's going to be a pretty subdued thing, and we're not going to make a big affair out of it and spend a bunch of money, so sorry, you don't get to come. Like, damn it. I would have got to go if he'd have just showed up. But he didn't, so thanks, Trump. But anyway, this
thanks,
year,
Trump.
We got Michelle Wolf doing the roasting of the president. And look, like, doing a roast at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is a tradition. And when you get a comedian to be the MC, it is what you should expect. So I was not surprised that she roasted him. But there's 2 points I want to make here. One is that most of the jokes I didn't really think were that funny. Some of them were good. Most of them I didn't think were that great, because most of them just hinge on the same joke we've heard on every late night talk show for the last 2 years, which is a guy walks into a bar and I hate Donald Trump. Everyone applaud. And the whole audience, woo, you're the greatest because you hate Donald Trump. Okay, well, it's a room full of Republicans, so they weren't going to woo and scream. It's like all Trump staffers and stuff. So maybe that wasn't the right audience for that joke. And then also, a roast, at its heart, is you get a whole bunch of people together, like the Friars Club used to do, and then Comedy Central took them over, and they weren't quite as good. Well, you get a bunch of people together that are like big fans or admirers of the person being roasted, and then they roast them. And the best ones always come from their friends. Like when William Shatner got roasted, all the best jokes came from William Shatner's friends. Other Star Trek folks or alumni, people that maybe they didn't always get along with him, but at their heart they liked him. A roast is supposed to be a lighthearted thing where it's all in good fun. A roast isn't funny anymore when you genuinely believe the person that you're roasting is a piece of shit. Like when you believe that at your core, it's not funny anymore. It's just you dumping on someone over and over and over, and especially when that spills over to other members of the administration. Like, I didn't think she was that savage or terrible on Sarah Huckabee Sanders, but that's not why Sarah Huckabee Sanders is there. She's just there to represent the president, and then he just dumped on her, and you made a lady with a really terrible, awful, thankless job probably very sad. And it's
right.
It made me feel bad for her. Like, why do we keep taking Donald Trump, the richest, most powerful guy in the world, who is also a giant dickhead, and making him into the underdog, like making him a sympathetic character? You got to take your foot off his neck for a minute before he'll show you how stupid he is.
Yeah. There's a difference between a rant and a roast. Like, even if you don't like the guy, like, okay, for instance, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with me, but Daily Show. When Jon Stewart did the Daily Show, he was brilliant. And even if he didn't, his politics were very left, but he could still make a decent joke. Whereas I would submit to you that Trevor Noah is more ranty and cannot. And so he comes across just more angry, mixed with a little bit of humor, and it just falls flat.
Trevor Noah, I don't think the writers, I don't think a lot of them are still there from the Jon Stewart days, and that hurts. But yeah,
that's true.
Trevor Noah is a very different person who needs different writers because he's got a different delivery. He's just not as good. It's tough when you take over from Jon Stewart, who I think was a genius.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Trevor Noah he's just not that good. And even though it's kind of xenophobic of me to say so, I cannot get over the fact that he is not from America. And just like John Oliver, who I like very much, is not from America and spends 90% of every show telling you that America sucks. Okay,
yeah, that's a fair point.
I get that you came here and that you want to be part of America now. And I don't want you to just apologize for us all the time and pretend that we don't have flaws, but you gotta quit telling me we suck. It's like when you get together with your buddies to watch a hockey game, and you got that one friend who's watching and like, we are never ever gonna win with Jaden Schwartz because that guy's a piece of shit who's got no slap shot, he's got no presence in front of the net. It's just, I can't believe I keep wanting to watch this team. Dude, shut up. You're a bummer. We're all supposed to be rooting for the team, even if we point out what they do wrong sometimes. We're all supposed to be on the same team here, and you sound like you just hate the team.
So, and if you were, like the John Oliver example, if you were to fly over to the other side of the pond and try to make a comedic living razzing, NHS and their ways, well, I mean, that's the sort of thing that the police over there would call inappropriate behavior, and they would look at investigate you, maybe throw you in jail. I don't know. You
can be prosecuted for certain things, and it's a problem. But to me, the whole spirit of the roast, and I'm a comedy nerd. I love comedy. I love dissecting it. We talked a couple weeks ago when we were talking Marvel movies, and I really dug into one of the jokes in Thor Ragnarok, and how it was like a subversion of expectations 3 times, and it kept flipping and flipping. I love that kind of stuff. I love digging into the structure of comedy. But at its heart, a roast is supposed to be a lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek thing, and when you actually hate the person you're roasting, it's not funny to me anymore. It's just mean.
Yeah.
So they should have got someone more centrist, or somebody who, even somebody who's a Trump supporter, who would still be willing to dump on him and do the whole roast thing. That's more in the spirit of the roast.
Yeah.
Because you could have the roast of Ken Bone, it'd be easy. There's plenty of stuff to make fun of me about. And if it was full of like the friends that I've made in the media, or like our friends from high school or whatever, that'd be great. But if it was full of all like the people from Gizmodo who dug through my Reddit history, and the people at the New York Post who told me the world that I was an awful guy in headlines, then it's not funny anymore. Then it's just them being dickheads.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say this. Ken and Josh at the Ken Bone Zone are not pro-Trump. We are pro-comedy.
Yes,
we take comedy seriously. And I've had this where I'm flipping through channels and I catch SNL or I catch Trevor Noah or any comedian, or I'll go to an amateur night in Minneapolis where we're the cheap easy joke is Donald Trump, and it's cheap and it's easy and it makes me mad. And anytime I say something, I'm like, wow, I almost sound like a Trump apologist. No, I'm passionate about comedy.
Yeah.
So comedians do better.
I'm fine, absolutely fine with Trump jokes. I want better Trump jokes, because
Trump jokes.
We've just been hearing the same one for 2 years now. You're like, oh, he's the Cheeto Bandito. Get it? Because he uses too much spray tanner. I'm the cut up in the office. They say I should do stand-up. Shut the hell up.
You cannot make another original joke about his tiny hands. It's all been done.
Yep.
That well is done, dried up.
Yeah, that one's been picked down to the bone. There's nothing left on it. Now, if there are a lot of creative comics out there who can tie the tiny hands to the issue of the day, great. Sure. But if you just get out there and be like, Trump's thumbs look like baby penises because they're tiny, shut the hell up. You're terrible. You're the Hook from the Gong Show, or from the Apollo. The Hook from the Apollo is pulling you off right now because you suck. Except the problem is that everybody hates Trump so damn much that everybody cheers. It's like most comics are now turning into the category that I like to call woo comics, where you don't really do you don't really do comedy. You just get up there and you say something obscenely popular, and everybody's like, "Woo, you're great." Like, no, you're not great. You just said something everybody agrees with, and we're all drunk out here in the audience, so we laughed and cheered. It's not the same thing.
Have you ever seen Black Mirror, the Netflix show?
Yeah.
I could see a Black Mirror episode being a little bit more dystopian society where a woo comic gets up, and you could say Donald Trump, but, fictional, woo, and somebody's like, not funny, and they immediately brand that person a racist and they throw him in jail. Because, not that that's going to actually happen, but it's like, not funny. Well, maybe it's because you're racist. Well, no, just because it's not funny.
I don't know. We're reasonably close to that. On Inauguration Day in 2017, there was a guy in New York wearing a Make America Great Again hat. He wore it into a bar, and he got kicked out of the bar.
I remember that, yeah.
For wearing a MAGA hat. And a judge just ruled on it this week in New York and said, nope, the bar was within its rights for kicking you out. Well, okay. So you can just wear a MAGA hat and you're automatically a racist and you can get kicked out. Or like Milo Yiannopoulos. And don't get me wrong, Milo Yiannopoulos sucks real bad. He is a bad person. But Milo Yiannopoulos just got booed out of a restaurant. He was at a restaurant with his friend, and there was a group of people there. They were called the Young Socialists or the Democratic Socialists or some kind of club meeting. And they just started chanting real loud in a restaurant while people were eating dinner. They're like, Nazis not allowed, or something like that. Nazi scum, get out, I think it was. I'm like, oh, jeez. And then, the manager of the restaurant comes over, and I'm thinking oh, that whole group's going to get kicked out because they're getting unruly in the middle of a restaurant. Nope. Milo gets up and leaves with his friend. He got up and left, which really surprised me because he normally loves when people just hate on him because that's his whole shtick.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole kind of groupthink, you're a nasty, horrible racist, so you're not allowed to be here with the rest of us. That's dangerous. That is it's the same kind of behavior that used to get black people lynched because the majority thought it was okay to lynch them.
Right, and that's where we need to remind ourselves that in a free society, but we also have laws and rules that are based on objectivity. So free speech is one thing. But there's been a few times where it's a little too close to the edge, where it's like, well, maybe the mob mentality is okay if it's this person. Like you can't, as much as people like the whole punch a Nazi thing. People were, well, I guess it's okay. Well, no, no. As much as I would love to punch a Nazi, it's still not okay. It's assault. It will land you in jail. It's wrong.
Yeah,
doesn't matter if it's a Nazi.
Lizard brain tells me punch a Nazi because they're hateful and they're awful and they're spreading hate. But we have laws in this country not to protect me from being exposed to your hatred, but to protect you from violence and the tyranny of the majority. This is what I don't get about when we'll have a big protest and say that Ben Shapiro can't come and speak at this university, or whatever. A lot of conservative people get protested to the point where they can't come and speak at a university. Their stuff will get canceled. And to me, that it's protesting is great and all, but it really smacks of intellectual weakness. Are you?
Oh, totally.
Are you that terrified that if you let this guy come and talk, that his ideas will recruit a bunch of people? If you're that convinced that he's wrong, you should be able to come up with a counter argument to convince people, like, no, he's wrong and this is why. But no, apparently you're so terrified that if I come and spew Nazi hatred on a street corner, I'll actually convince a bunch of people that the Jews run the world and should be exterminated. Like, no, I don't think that any reasonable person would think that, and I don't think a person preaching Nazism on a street corner is going to get anyone to agree with him. They're just going to get a whole bunch of people spitting gum on his shoes and stuff. But when you punch him in the face, you get him on television. And television gets watched by the dumbest, drunkest trolls in the world who might actually let that start seeping into their head.
Right. You just helped that idiot's cause out.
He wants you to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
That Nazi wants you to punch him in the face. Now, after you punch him in the face, he might rethink his position, like, oh, that friggin' hurt. But he wants the attention. He wants the hatred. They're fueled by hatred. You know, that they want hate.
Yeah.
Anyway, good Lord. So much hatefulness. But we love everybody.
I just want to hug him up.
So Mike Pompeo now is the new head of the State Department. He's new Secretary of State. He's got confirmed. And that is good because we still have dozens and dozens of countries that have no U.S. ambassador. Rex Tillerson, who I had very high hopes for, turned out he sucked real bad. And he just gutted the State Department and left our diplomatic corps critically understaffed. A lot of senior staff members left in protest or got ran out by Tillerson's folks. And so Mike Pompeo has a hell of a job ahead of him, trying to rebuild our diplomatic ability. And I think General Mattis, the Secretary of Defense, put it best, said, like, look, you need diplomacy. You need a good Secretary of State, because if you don't spend money on diplomacy, you need to give me that money for bullets, because it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And
it's a fair way to put it.
Like, if you're not willing to talk, it's time to start shooting, and I don't want to go start shooting. So, good luck, Mike Pompeo, previous head of the CIA, and honestly, I don't have as high hopes for you, but prove me wrong, please. Another cabinet nominee, Ronnie Jackson, who's the personal physician to the president, and was also the personal physician to the last two presidents, was nominated to be head of the VA, Veterans Affairs, but he ended up withdrawing because people leveled a whole lot of accusations against him. Most of it was confirmed not to be true and to be slanderous, but I guess he didn't want to put his family through that stuff anymore. Smart move, Ronnie. He's the personal doctor to 3 presidents. He was a combat surgeon, like Hawkeye on MASH. He's an admiral. It sounds qualified enough, but then again, being the best cashier in the world does not make you qualified to be the CEO of Target.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so you can be awesome at your job. Running a big organization is a different skill set, and several veterans groups said that he's not the best choice, and that's good enough for me. If the veterans groups are saying, I don't think that you should be running the Veterans Administration, well, maybe you shouldn't. And on a side note, the VA, if any of you are vets out there, first off, thank you. Secondly, you've probably dealt with the VA doctors or the VA hospital. The VA hospitals are the reason that I think universal health care in the United States is a bad idea. The VA is so poorly run, and veterans get such atrocious medical care, while at the same time costing so much money, that it shows me the government's not qualified to run health care. You clean up the VA and make it the envy of the medical system, then we'll talk. And we'll talk about just expanding that to all citizens. I think that's where it ought to start. If you can make the VA hospital system run so great that people are like, man, I want to join the Army just so I can go to the VA hospital, that's when you can say, okay, now we can start expanding that program. First, we're going to give it to poor people that meet X qualification, and then we're going to do it to this, and then in 15 years, it's going to be everybody. Or in 10 years, or a shorter time frame if you want, whatever. But I think that's where it needs to start. Because if you can't run the hospital for our nation's heroes, for our veterans, the people who gave so much in service to the country, there's nothing that's giving me confidence that says you can run it for Joe Blow.
Yeah, and for those who out there that may, well, is it really that bad? Is the VA really that bad? You can just a quick Google search will tell you, yes, it's not just an exaggeration. It's really some of the issues over the past few years, especially, has been just awful with the VA, where it's like, yeah, this should be changed and taken care of, but the government wants a bigger slice of that pie. Yeah. You made a good point. Yeah, prove it with the VA first, and then we can have that conversation.
Like, yeah, one of my buddies that I don't know if you knew him from high school. I didn't actually get to know him until after high school, even though he went to school with us. But I delivered pizza with him, and he was a Navy vet and had a lot of calcification in one of his lungs. It was very painful. Like, had trouble breathing. It gave him super bad sleep apnea even when he was in his early 20s. And it was a very, very painful thing. It diminished his lung capacity to the point where he couldn't really do that much physical labor. And so he was getting his treatment through the VA because he was a veteran. And routinely he would go in and say, like, it hurts to breathe. We got to do something about this. And the doctor would be like, well, you might need surgery, but nah, here's some ibuprofen.
Jeez.
Like, very literally, here's some ibuprofen. Here's an inhaler you can use. And he's like, isn't this for people with asthma? And he's like, yeah, but you know, it's not like it'll hurt you. Like, well, is it going to help? No, I don't think so.
Oh, man.
That's what I got. Jeez.
Wow.
So that's messed up.
Totally.
We were going to talk about the Waffle House shooting, but I want to have an episode where we don't talk about guns, for God's sake. We're going to skip that one. We'll give you the short version. Shooting people is bad. Shooting people at a Waffle House while you're naked is even worse. Stopping a guy from shooting people, even though it is in your own self-interest, is very, very, very good. So thank you to the gentleman who stopped the shooter. And screw you to naked Waffle House shooter.
Right.
Bill Cosby's probably going to go to jail. He just got convicted on sexual assault, and they let him walk out of the courtroom. The judge says he's not a flight risk.
Really?
Bullshit. If I got $400 million and I'm convicted of rape, it no longer matters if I did it or not. And you know, he did it. He definitely did it.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say Cosby didn't do it. He friggin' did it. But even if he didn't do it, that doesn't even matter anymore. He's convicted and he's going to go to jail. At that point, he's got $400 million. $400 million. That lets you disappear anywhere on the damn planet. And the judge is like, no, he's old and he's almost blind. He's not going anywhere. Bullshit! I can give a pilot $5 million. Be like, look, you just say you're flying medical supplies to some country that doesn't do expedition, and I will sit in a crate.
Right.
Okay. Off we go, Mr. Cosby.
With a crate full of pudding.
Yeah. With a crate full of Jello pudding. I'm doing good, Cosby. So
that one's hard.
I guess the only people ahead of me now on like the great sweater registry, I guess would be Fred Rogers. You know, Mr. Rogers is always going to be the highest on the pantheon of sweater-wearing folks.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But now Cosby has been knocked off of our Mount Rushmore. I have increased a notch on the sweater-wearing Hall of Fame.
Who else would you consider to be in that list?
It's a short list. That's for sure. So there's me. There's Mr. Rogers. There's,
might just be you two. I'm sure there's more. I just can't think of it.
No, there's damn it. I had at least one more that I had for this joke, and I didn't write it down because I'm like, I don't remember it.
Twitter question. Top 10 sweater wearing heroes of all time.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, don't be surprised if Cosby runs away because you don't want to go to jail. Go to jail as a rapist, as an old man. Oh man.
Right.
I mean, he deserves it because he raped a bunch of women.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're not saying it's right, but
no, but holy cow. Basically,
who in that situation with $400 million wouldn't?
If he doesn't run away right now, he's an idiot. Because he's not sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm going to take my licks, I deserve it. No, he doesn't think that at all.
No.
If he thought that, he would have pled guilty.
Yeah.
He definitely doesn't want to go to jail. I'm so surprised that the judge just let him go home. Insane.
Maybe it's one of those. He's not a flight risk. Wink.
Yeah. I mean, it's anybody with more than $20 to their name who is going to prison for the rest of their lives is a flight risk.
Right.
Like, Cosby's old, and he's not in great health.
Yeah.
If he goes to prison for a year, it's not like they take great care of you in prison, especially if you're a rapist. He's going to die.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's spending the rest of his life in jail. Once he steps inside, he is not coming back out. So if you're in that situation, they should be watching you 24 hours a day. Somebody should be there with you. Make sure you don't run away, especially if you've got almost $500 million damn dollars.
Yeah.
I'm baffled. Absolutely baffled. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll just step into jail like a good boy. Maybe they'll put something in his drink so they can drag him off to jail. That would be a beautiful irony.
There we go.
That would make me sleep better at night. It'd make him sleep better at night too. Go sing!
Oh, nice.
Oi. Okay. This show gets worse every week. There's only a couple more stories. Joy Reid, TV host, she was going to get an award from an LGBT group for, I guess, good stuff that she does for the gay community. Hey, that's great. Everybody's people, free to be you and me. So congratulations, Joy Reid, for doing something good for them. Except you also used to tweet bad stuff about them. Now, I can sympathize with this because up until probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 years ago, we've talked about this on the show many times. I used to not think very highly of gay people because I was raised to think that being gay was wrong and that gay people were therefore bad people. And it took me a while, and it took me a long time of meeting gay people and talking to them to be like, oh, well, you're just people. You can't really decide who you love. So, I kind of overcame that. So I can see where if I had written and published some of that stuff, people now would think I was like a disgusting homophobe, when really I was just wrong. I used to be wrong, and then I learned. And I think that's an important part of the human experience. You should be allowed to learn after you are wrong. Otherwise, everybody just stay a racist piece of crap for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But Joy, instead of saying, you know what, I used to be wrong, now I know better, and I'm sorry, which she probably still wouldn't have got the award, and people would still be mad at her, because being outraged is so fun. It's like the national pastime now. It's more fun than baseball. Being outraged is very fun. She still would have gotten all kinds of crap over it, but at least I think the fall would have been less hard than her current defense, which is, I don't remember writing that stuff. I think somebody hacked my account. I call hacks.
Hacks.
Hacks. I didn't do it. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did, Joy. You freaking did it. Okay? And I don't think you're an evil person for doing it. I mean, you only have to look back like 5 years or less before, and people still do it today, not meaning anything homophobic or bad by it, but like you'll say something, and then somebody will go, gay. That was a very, very common joke, and it was not meant to be a homophobic slur. But that's not a thing that you commonly say anymore, because it's impolite. Right. And I think as a society, that's not because, like, oh, we're pussies now and everybody's PC. Well, I think it's because we used to be wrong, and we learned.
Yeah.
And she was part of society, obviously, so she used to be wrong, and she learned. So if she was just owning up to that, I'd feel a lot better about this.
Yeah. That's a really good point. It's like, let's own up. But then again, let's have grace, because if you look 10 years in the past, you look 20, you look 30, and you can see where the majority of society has done things that now we go, well, hey, I'm glad we've changed that for the better. I mean, it only shows that we're getting better collectively as a species, everyone. So
it's happening so fast now. Like it really harkens back to the Apu and the Simpsons deal that's been going on, where like people are upset because Apu is played by Hank Azaria, a white guy, and it's a very, very stereotypical voice. But Apu's always been portrayed in a very positive light, so some people are kind of torn over it. Well, they're not going to change the voice of Apu now, 28 years in.
Yeah.
The voice of Apu just is what it is now. I'm not going to change it. But if you just look back less than a full generation ago and be like, wow, it was a different world that we lived in. It's incredible how fast it changed. I totally sympathize with my grandfather now, who seemed lost and afraid when it came to working the cable remote. That day is, well, Sherm, if you're listening, that day is fast approaching for me. You know, in a society way and not a technology way. I feel like I'm keeping up with the social progress thing now, but someday my old brain will just become too inflexible, and I won't be able to anymore. And people will just start telling me that I'm like a gross racist at that point. And I'll be like, well, I'm doing my best. What do you want from me? You know, it happens. But I'm glad that we're seeing people learn and do better. So
yeah,
hopefully this will kind of blow over for Joy, because I really think that she learned and she's a better person now. And if she wasn't evil before, it was a product of what society was at the time. And collectively, we learned something.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll even say this on the other side, that sometimes society also has as a way of in the method of correcting, we overcorrect, but then we balance back out. So yes, with outrage culture, you know, it outrage can sometimes be good, and we should be very concerned about social justice more and more. And sometimes we take that a little too far and we turn things ugly, because a lot of times things that are really good can get ugly pretty quick if we veer off course. But then we realize, hey, we veered off course, let's bring it back. So if you're looking now at the outrage culture and a lot of things around society that just makes you angry, it'll probably get better eventually. But then we'll have other crap to worry about. So
absolutely. And speaking of overcorrection, you just made an excellent segue into our very last news story. There's a young girl in Utah who goes to her prom, and they put the pictures up online, and she's wearing what looks like a traditional Chinese dress. Well, for one, it's not a traditional Chinese dress. They've only looked like that for about the last 100 years or so. And there's all kinds of reasons why, like, ancient Chinese people did not wear one of these dresses. But because of movies, this is what we associate with Chinese culture. And she was wearing this Chinese dress, posted some pictures of herself online, and she was doing, like, prayer hands. But then the boys who were in the row behind her were doing the old VN with their fingers, Vape Nation, because they are big fans of my good friend, Ethan Klein, who I love very much, and who did a story about this on his H3H3 Productions channel. She was not doing the prayer hands thing to be like, oh, me little Chinese woman. She was not doing a racist thing. It's not like she was doing like the slant eyes with her fingers. She was doing Papa Bless, while her friends were doing Vape Nation, because that's an H3H3 Productions thing. It was in no way related to the dress. Zero related to the dress. But that picture was used as like, oh, see, she's doing this like servant girl pose because she's wearing an Asian-inspired dress. And this is cultural appropriation. And it's evil because she's stealing the culture from the Chinese people. And then a guy on Twitter got very, very angry and said that my culture is not your goddamn prom dress. Well, a couple of reasons why you probably shouldn't be so upset there, sir. One, you're Vietnamese. This was not a Vietnamese dress. It was a Chinese dress. So now you're inserting into the heads of me and all the other Midwestern dummies that you like to fly over that all Asian people are the same when they are not. Vietnamese culture is very, very distinct from Japanese and Chinese and Korean and Malaysian culture and all other Eastern or Asian cultures. So that was kind of dumb on your part. And also, she's not appropriating your culture. She thought, wow, those Chinese dresses are so pretty. I want to wear that to my prom. That's for a high school girl, that's like the greatest badge of honor you can give something, is to wear it to your prom. Yeah. Which, prom is so overblown at this point, it might as well be your wedding, as a young person. She was celebrating the culture, not taking anything away from it. And I think that the most telling deal here that tells us that we really should back off of this cultural appropriation crucifying people is when this story started to reach China. The New York Times just ran a story on this. I think it was today. It might have been yesterday. But Chinese people are looking at this and they're like, oh, awesome. Somebody in America likes our dress. They're celebrating our culture. That's cool. Just how, like, we have McDonald's and Chevrolet, and we like American culture, they like Chinese culture. That's great. And I'm like, well, if the Chinese people like it, then why are the Americans getting so damn mad? We're addicted to hating each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a high school girl, for God's sake. Take it easy on her.
Yeah. Head explode.
Yeah.
People that get upset about these things need to just reevaluate their life and save some of your life force for being outraged and offended at real stuff. Like, I don't know, sexual slavery or things like that. And then spend the majority of your life being a good person and building up your life and the people around you, and get your worth out of that, instead of always being outraged because you think it's helping someone. It's not. It's just not.
Yeah, not only is it just worthless anger, but it's also like, hey, don't worry, Chinese people. Don't worry your tiny yellow brains over this one. Me, the white guy, is going to jump in and save you from this evil dress-wearing girl.
Right.
And if you're an Asian person, you got to be like, shut the hell up. What's the matter with you? I can defend myself. I just don't feel like I need to be defended from a prom dress. I have agency. I'm as intelligent as you, and a lot of studies show I actually, as a whole, statistically, work a shitload harder than you do, and learn more stuff than you do. I don't need you to defend me from the prom dress. I can take on the big prom dress industry all by myself if I want to, but I don't want to because it's stupid.
Down with big prom dress.
Yeah.
Wait, that
down with prom dress,
context.
Up with mini skirts.
Yeah, that could be taken really out of context.
Yeah, we're in our 30s now. You can't say that anymore.
Yeah,
that's gross. Shame on you.
Man, we
a horrible homophobic slur against Anderson Cooper, and now you're a child molester.
No,
this is your worst episode ever.
It is. This will haunt, and in 10 years, this will haunt me. And
oh, absolutely.
Remember when you said that all prom dresses should be taken off? I didn't say that.
The next presidential debate, or the 2024 presidential debate, will be in St. Paul, and you'll get invited to it, and you'll wear something crazy and weird, and then people will love you like they loved me for a week, and they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe how much you hated gay people. Be like, that's not what I said. Be like, well, that's
not what I said.
Ken said that's what you said. And like, well, you can't believe Ken because he likes Jennifer Lawrence's butt. And then it'll be this whole thing.
You idiot! We all like Jennifer Lawrence's butt.
That's for damn sure.
We've all got swords.
We've all got swords. That's top-notch reference. You've salvaged the entire episode.
Yep. That's debatable.
Oy. Well, on to our big picture topic of the week. This week's big picture topic brought to you by my headphone company, I Love Headphones. Yes, get I Love earbuds if you really want your right ear to hurt so goddamn bad. It's killing me right now. I'm considering cutting the show short.
But you know everyone's going to want to talk about the Logan picture. I haven't got to talk to you about it yet. I've been chomping at the bit.
Yeah, we actually had to cancel last week's show so that I could deal with the school and the police over this. So sorry, listeners, but it turns out I actually do like my son more than I like you. I like you a lot. I like my son more. So here's the thing. If you haven't seen it, I'm amazed that you're listening to this show. First of all, thank you. If you haven't seen it, here's the deal. Kyle Kashuv is one of the Parkland survivors. He's the pro-Second Amendment one. The 16-year-old boy who is always talking about gun rights. And he actually got a bill passed in Congress by going and talking to lawmakers while a lot of the other kids were organizing a rally, and that's fine. Organize a rally, that's great. But don't take anything away from Kyle. He actually put boots on the ground and helped get a law passed in Congress. Not many people can say that. I can't say that. So he's an incredibly young guy. Anyway, his father, who is a former member of the Israeli Defense Force, by the way, took Kyle to the gun range to go shoot some guns and teach Kyle, like, hey, if you're going to be an advocate for the Second Amendment, let's take you to the gun range, teach you how guns work, and teach you about gun safety. So Kyle goes to the gun range, he does some shooting, he posts a video and some pictures of himself on Twitter shooting a gun. He then gets pulled into his school's security office by the school resource officer and a couple of rent-a-cops, for want of a better term, school security guards, not police. Gets drug in there, and from the way Kyle tells it, they really gave him the old bare bulb treatment. They were reading him the riot act. Got a little aggressive with him when he asked if he could record their discussion. They said no, which is illegal. You can record anytime the police are talking to you in most states. Check your own state law, but in most states you are allowed to record police interaction. They told him no. They were pretty rough with him. He says they're pretty, like, they didn't hurt him, but they were very rude to him and made him feel intimidated. He didn't have a lawyer present. He didn't have his parents present. Didn't have any of that. So he tweeted about it. He was upset. In response to his tweet about his treatment, I responded with a picture of me and Logan at a gun range, and I was teaching him to shoot a rifle for the first time. He's holding a Scar 17, a very expensive rifle, which we don't own because we're not made of money. We rented it at the gun range. A safety officer at that same gun range, we had taken a gun safety class with them, teaching us all about this is how you hold the gun, this is how you treat the gun, this is how you be safe with the gun. Always keep it pointed down range. Be aware of your target and what lies beyond it. Treat every weapon as if it is loaded until you have checked it clear yourself. Keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to fire. Never point a gun at something you are not willing to shoot and kill. Those basic gun rules. And a little more advanced safety stuff. So we did the most responsible thing we could. I'm going to teach my son about gun safety. Well, we did that over a year ago. I responded to Kyle with that picture, and the caption said, "Here's a picture of my son learning to shoot safely under my supervision. Maybe those security guys want to talk to him too." And those security guys I was talking to were Kyle's security guys. That is obvious in context because this was not just a tweet. This was a reply to Kyle's tweet. So if you scroll up and look at what I was responding to, he's talking about security guys. I'm talking about the same security guys. Well, somebody, and I know who, I know it was you, if you're listening, contacted the police about this and interpreted that maybe security guys should talk to him as some kind of threat against the school. They decided that that was a threat against my son's school, or if it wasn't a threat, it was some kind of cry for help. Like I was reaching out to my thousands of Twitter followers and asking them, please, please save me from my dangerous child.
Oh, wow.
Neither of those things are true. I was not threatening the school. I was not asking for help with my son. I am much, much larger and more powerful than my son, and he is a very respectful and fine young guy. I do not need help with him. And I do not threaten schools. And then I got a call from the principal's office of my son's school saying somebody called in about this picture, saying that it was a threat. We've contacted the police, and your son is suspended from school. So I get this call at about 3:30 p.m. after my son's already home from school. I'm still at work. I get so angry. More angry than you heard me at the top of the show. Very, very angry. Because my son is now being punished for not only something that was not wrong, but something that he didn't do. He didn't tweet that picture. He didn't take the picture. His mother took the picture. I shared the picture. I wrote the comment. He was not aware that this had happened because he doesn't even have a Twitter account. He doesn't have an account. He does not follow me on Twitter. He does not look at my tweets. He did not know I had done this. After he was suspended, I called home from work and asked Heather, is Logan home? Yeah. Does he know what happened at school? No. What are you talking about? Now she's getting worried, you know.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, the school just called me and told me he's suspended, but before you get upset, he didn't do anything wrong. It was because of that picture on Twitter. And I was absolutely livid. I had to delete a really nasty email that I had typed out that I was sending to the person who I know for sure is the one that reported this because somebody let her name slip when they shouldn't have. This person hates me personally and has expressed that multiple times in multiple different ways and is using this incident to punish me through my son, which is one of the most disgusting things you can do. This person is an educator and is punishing a child to anger his father. This is not the first time she has done it, and I just want to say I do not wish ill on people, but I also wish that you were not in charge of educating children because the children at your school deserve better. Now, fortunately for me, after I was able to explain all this stuff, and inform my son. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, you're suspended. He didn't know. Nobody at the school told him. They sent him home on the school bus like normal, and then called me and told me don't send him back. So we don't send him to school the next day. I call the police, and I'm like, hey, they say that my son can't come back to school until a police investigation is conducted. I don't know what you're supposed to investigate, but could you please step on the gas in investigating it so my kid can go back to school? Well, because this got reported at the end of the school day, everybody at the school has gone home now. The police can't even call them to ask what they want until the next morning. So my son misses a day of school. It's only one day, yeah, but it makes me angry that he was penalized for even one day for this, for something he did not do. It was not wrong, and if it had been wrong, he didn't do it, I did it. A detective comes to the comes to the house the next day and interviews me and interviews my son. We explain the context of the tweet. I explained to him that my son had nothing to do with this. He could not possibly have had anything to do with this because he doesn't even have a Twitter account. In the picture, you cannot see his face. You only know it's him because I said it was him. And this picture was taken before the school year started. It was taken when he went to a different school. So there's like 4 different things that separate him from this incident. And the detective understood that. And then he was like, well, are you being safe with guns? I feel like I have to ask. And I explained to him, like I explained to everyone else, all of my guns live in a safe. My son does not know the combination to the safe, has no access to the guns. He only gets to touch his gun with my supervision, and only when it is time to clean it, adjust it, or take it to the range to safely shoot it. He doesn't get to sleep with it under his pillow. He doesn't get to pet it and call it his precious. We're responsible with guns here. They're not toys. So the detective understood all that, went back to the school, explained it to the school's principal, who is fortunately a very reasonable woman, who understood, okay, I did what I had to do because a police report got called in, but now that it's explained, your son can come back to school. So thankfully, he only missed one day of school. He got to go back on Monday, but my blood pressure is still elevated. And to the woman that made the report, I will take no retaliatory action against you. I will not mention your name in any media program. I will not give clues to who you are, any of that stuff. I will not do anything actionable. I will not do anything against you, but I am very, very angry and disappointed in you. You're supposed to be an educator, and I expect better of you.
I will pray that she gets diarrhea. So
Very
there.
nice. There you go.
The threat belongs to me. The virulent, racist, homophobe, your co-host.
Yeah.
Now, no, wait. Now, does this suspension is this still on Logan's record, or is it just kind of?
Well, there has to be a record of it because they didn't let him come to school. But I got to see the wording in it where it absolved him of any, by letting him come back, they absolved him of any guilt or responsibility. So
okay.
It should not be a negative thing against him.
That's good.
And that's very important. That's a good point because he's going to a different school next year. He starts high school in the fall. And we want him to have a clean slate at this high school. He has gotten in trouble at school before over some misunderstandings that we won't really get into, but he's never, I will say this about it, he has never done violence against another child. He has never threatened violence against another child. He has never actually done anything. He made some mistakes. But he hasn't actually done any bad actions or even said any threatening words. But this is the first incident of any kind at his current school. He's a model student for this whole school year. The teachers there love him. He's that kind of kid. He's a good kid.
This was one of the things I was arguing a bit online over the weekend on Twitter and Facebook, and it disturbed me how not many it seemed, but quite a few. And at first I tried to understand. I sort of understand. It's like, the school has every right to investigate, anything that they could find troublesome, because what if, and people kept using the whole, well, what if he's the type of kid that would shoot up a school? It's like, well, he's not. It's like you're arguing from a presupposition that says he is, and that's being guilty before proven innocent, and that's not how we do things in the US of A. He was doing a legal activity, a safe one, like with and with no context of him being violent or anything, you can't make those conclusions. You can't jump there. It's not how we do things.
If this was a picture of him in our backyard with a gun, with camo paint on his face, and the caption was, "We'll show you," then I totally get it. That is not okay. That is definitely creepy and threatening. But this was us at a gun range, not making a threat, safely operating a firearm, me teaching him how to be safe with it, and a phone call from his school's office or a meeting with his principal could clear this up in 5 minutes.
Right.
And the police did not need to be involved. I'm all for keeping the schools safe, and I don't blame the principal for doing what she did, because based on the reports that she got, this was her only option. I blame the person that made a report saying that there was some kind of threat.
But you're going to tell me about that after the show, right? Cause,
oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
after I hit the stop recording button.
All right.
I won't put any identifying information out in public, because then the person could get in a car wreck on the way to work tomorrow and sue me because they hate me. But yeah, he didn't. And the other part that gets me is he didn't do anything. I did it. I'm the one that put the tweet out there. So if you want to consider it a threat, why wasn't I being prosecuted? Why wasn't I being charged with making a threat towards a school? Because I'm the one that wrote it. I'm the one that put it out there. What if on the way home from work tomorrow I rob the gas station where I usually stop for a soda? Does my kid get kicked out of school? All the people who are in jail right now, are their kids expelled from school? No, they're not. Because you don't get punished for the sins of your father here in this country.
Right. And the context of the text below the picture to suggest that, that means either it's a cry from help from the father or it's showing, but that is such a stretch, man. Like that's almost as ridiculous as somebody actually thinking that, like, the whole Anderson Cooper thing,
yeah,
which clearly is an absurd joke.
No, but
it's so wild.
You have to come from a place where you want to believe ill of people,
right,
to come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
like you have to want it to be a threat or want it to be, negative in order to construe it that way. If you're coming from a neutral position, I just can't see twisting it in your mind to make it look bad, especially given that the context is there and available for you to read.
Yeah.
Context is everything when you only get to talk 280 characters at a time. So, yeah, I stand by the fact there was nothing wrong. You'll notice I did not delete the message. I did not delete the tweet.
Yeah.
I do not delete things on social media, ever. I do not delete tweets. I do not delete comments. And if they were wrong and if they were mistakes, I learn from them and move on. And if they weren't and you think they were, go to hell. First Amendment, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very angered by this situation. And my son was so mature through the whole thing. As soon as he learned he was suspended, he was like, man, it's all a big misunderstanding. I'm sure I'll be back to school by Monday. Man, he was. Heather and I were freaking out about it because it's our son,
Sure.
And he's had a tough shake of school already. But he was fine. He's very mature for his age on that kind of stuff, and he's super chill. Like you've met him before, and
Oh yeah, great. Yeah,
he's
great
such
kid.
He's like the Zen kid. He's just like, man, whatever, man.
Yeah. Yeah, which is awesome. I'd have done the same thing, man. I was probably only a tenth of tense and angry as you were, which I'm sure you were.
Oh, absolutely.
Grinding your teeth. Someone's gonna pay, like legally and responsibly, not.
The overwhelming majority of the responses I got were like, "Oh, here's pictures of me and my kids shooting," which I thought were fantastic. And most people were like, "You should sue the school." Well, I'm not really interested in punishing a school district and taking money away from an already underfunded school for something that got resolved so quickly. Yeah, I was mad, but I don't want to jump straight to litigation. Like, if they hadn't let him come back to school, yeah, we'd have a lawyer by now. But it all got worked out. But yeah, that was that was pretty much the entire story there, and holy crap was I ever angry about it. But I did get to do, I did so much media about it, and I did not reach out to a single reporter. Like, I was thinking about calling every reporter whose number I have saved in my phone. I got about 300. I was thinking about calling every one of them, or just sending out a mass text and be like, can you believe this crap? And seeing how many of them will bite. But I ended up doing about 10 different shows, some of them national, over this, just because they were calling me. And I got to go on, on NRA TV, which I just realized is a thing.
Oh.
With Dana Lash, who used to be a radio host here in St. Louis. Now she's
I remember. Yeah.
Dana's the spokeswoman for the NRA, who is like the magnet for hatred on Twitter, far more than I am. So it was interesting talking to her. She has a very unique perspective on people disagreeing with you or being angry with you and dragging your kids into it. Because people make like death threats against her kids routinely.
Wow.
Because she's an advocate for guns. So it was pretty interesting talking to her about it.
Now, has the school or any other the people involved mentioned being, having this exposed to the public, or have they not said anything?
They haven't said anything about it because there's nothing they can do about it. And if they said, please don't mention this to the public, that would look so bad on them. They haven't said anything like that. There's no way they could stop me from mentioning it to the public. And it's weird because I'm so visible in the public eye, even now that all the fame is gone, I still have a very large social media presence. Social media is very, very important to society today. That makes it super visible. When something like this happens to my family, it gives me a big platform to get the wheels greased and moving to try to get it resolved quickly. Like, if something ever happens to you or the boys, then you'll have this weapon you can wield with me and my visibility to get it fixed. That kind of thing. But it's also...
Don't make me call Ken!
It's also one of the big reasons why this happened in the first place. If I had 11 followers, then the person who reported this would have never seen it. They never would have seen it. This wasn't them going after me because I had notoriety. This was them going after me because they hate me. But they were able to see it because I have a big social media following.
Yeah, I think I even made that point to somebody this week, because I thought about then I couldn't find it, and my ADD mind lots. But I was gonna post a picture of JJ shooting, like learning how to shoot it. It looks like it was a BB gun or it was a pellet gun, but it looks like a long rifle. And I was like, I could say anything within reason, and nobody would care because it just wouldn't matter. But and that's the joy of not having any kind of fame. But man, that sucks.
Yeah, it was a big ordeal, and it caused a lot of stress over the weekend, but we got it sorted out pretty quickly. And the local police, who we have unfortunately had to deal with far more than we ever wanted to over the last 2 years because of various threats and things against us and our home and our family, they handled it very well. This was a frustrating waste of their resources. Like, detectives in a small, underfunded town like ours have much better things to do than go and talk to last year's flash-in-the-pan internet celebrity about his Twitter picture,
Yeah.
They've got better stuff to do. It probably cost him an hour or two out of his day, which could have been much better served at, actually detecting. And it's not his fault. He had to do it because it got reported. But they handled it very professionally. So thanks to the Belleville Police Department, and thanks to my son's current administration at school, which was very reasonable. And once they had all the facts, they're like, oh, well, of course he can come back. I got a response from them very quickly. It just frustrates me that it happened in the first place.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But everything back to normal now. So shout out to Kyle Kashev. Love you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And sorry you got read the riot act by your security officers. But if I had to go back and do it again just to show you support, I would do it again because you're a good kid. I would have probably, knowing what I know now, I would have changed the caption just to make it super. I would have put a disclaimer at the bottom. I am not threatening the school. For instance, Twitter should have come with a disclaimer where it says, I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, there you
go. Yeah, kid, you deserve my support. Anyway, I think that's about all we got for you this week. We really appreciate you listening to the Ken Bone Zone podcast. We're going to have some links in the description where you can check us out on SoundCloud if you would rather download the show. And we really will have a Patreon here eventually, once I figure out how to make the page look good enough that you might actually chip me $1 or $2 to cover these production costs. But until next week, for my good friend Josh Burkett up in the great frozen wilds of the Twin Cities, I am Ken Bone, and I approve this sweater.